So in this 10th teaching, we want to talk about cursed objects. And if I had to put an importance and put some stars by a lesson, this one is the one that I use all the time to deal with the problems that we see in witchcraft. The book of Deuteronomy is all about God's commandments. That's the main revelation coming from that book, about God's commands, obeying them. And I list a lot of instruction there at the beginning of this chapter in the book. You find in Deuteronomy 5, the 10 commandments given a second time. Deuteronomy 6 has the great commandment to love God. Over and over, the Lord and Moses commanding Israel in Deuteronomy to follow his commandments, listed 132 times, statutes 30 times, judgments 20 times, ways 12 times, testimonies 3 times. And you see over and over, obey, obedience, be obedient, obey. Chapter after chapter after chapter, we find that kind of instruction. So let's go here to Deuteronomy chapter 5, perhaps the main text for dealing with witchcraft is this right here, because this invariably is what brings curses into people's homes, is when they bring cursed objects into their house. And so many people have this stuff and they don't even know that they have it. So let's read it, and we'll read the instruction that he gives right away on it. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 25 and 26. It says, you shall do what? Burn. Yeah, that's how to deal with it. Carved images of their gods with fire. You shall not covet the silver or gold that is on them. You see that? Don't melt it down and then try to sell it and all that. No, get rid of the thing. It's cursed. Nor take it for yourselves, lest you be snared by it. For it is an abomination to the Lord your God. Nor shall you bring an abomination into your house. Listen to this language, lest you be doomed to destruction like it. You shall utterly detest it and utterly abhor it, for it is an accursed thing. This language appears many times in the Old Testament. Do you remember when Achan, when the Lord told him, don't touch anything that's accursed, it's devoted to God. And he went and took that Babylonian garment, and he took the wedge of gold and all that, and he brought it into his house. He brought it into his tent, and he ended up dying, and his whole family ended up dying. It was an accursed thing. It was to be devoted unto God, burned as unto an offering unto God. Some of these cities were declared accursed things. By the way, tithing is to be offered unto God. And you can find language like that. So when you hold on to the tithe that belongs to God, you're holding on to something that's cursed. And you need to give it to the Lord to release yourself from the curse. And we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. But get rid of that stuff. If it belongs to God and you hold on to it, you're holding on to a curse. God demands that from his people. Anyway, that got quiet real fast right now. It's like, good. All right. Well, let's move on to the next subject. Anyway, this is the area, whenever anybody has called me, I'm no expert on all witchcraft. I'm not. Just because I wrote the book doesn't mean a whole lot. I'm not an expert or anything on it. But when I go to people's houses and they tell me there's weird stuff going on, and we'll see that definitely in the next teaching, when there's weird stuff going on, there's sicknesses, accident prone, a lot of accidents going on in the family, I begin to look around the house and see if they brought in anything that's a curse, that's got an obvious ungodly thing in it. And so I want to list things, books, music, movies, religious candles, Indian jewelry, tarot cards, Ouija boards, cult books, bongs, any drugs, evil games, Dungeons and Dragons, crystals, dream catchers, statues, amulets, rabbit foot, whatever kind of thing. You got a St. Joseph coin in your pocket so you can have good luck while you travel. All that stuff is just, you don't need any of that stuff. And Indian jewelry. A lot of people love the Indian jewelry, and many of them don't know, but when they finish making those Indian jewelries, a lot of those Indian witch doctors pronounce curses over them. And they curse that jewelry. And so people love that, those necklaces and wristbands and all that stuff. And I go, man, you got a curse on you. And so I say this, and I want to emphasize this. Don't bring anything into your house that God hates. It's an abomination. God hates it, and you don't want to make God angry. And so I stated this last week with regard to pride. Pride is an abomination to God, but I state now, right now, with witchcraft, whatever is an abomination to God must be an abomination to us. If God hates it, we must hate it. And so don't mess around with that stuff. Don't hang on to it thinking that it's going to be something nice or good to have. No, don't do any of that. So this is the verse to go to. People bring in these accursed things into their house, and they become doomed like that. They begin to see weird stuff happening in their house, and there's so much stuff that people bring in, and we're going to cover, especially in the last session, we'll cover that a lot, to all these accursed items that people bring in. We're actually going to categorize them and list them, and they're in the book too. In the next session, I want to talk about dream catchers, because dream catchers have become very, very popular in our culture. And I want to talk about a little girl and dream catchers that happened with me a few years ago.